pressed against the wall with my Diet Coke. My sinus is on fire, and I was like, this sucks, and I'm getting out of here, like whatever it takes. So I was like, that's it. I'm quitting this job. I'm gonna write a book because that will work. That's a solid career choice. But that's what I did. I literally quit in the middle of the year. I was like, deuces, and I was out. And I wish I'd gone deuces. And my husband quit too. Oh God, it was so satisfying. But we quit like really nicely. Like we were like, here's our letter of resignation, our 2 weeks. And then right after we left, the drama teacher quit, and he like did like donuts in the parking lot. It was like honking. And we were like, he stole our thunder. But then we're like, he was the drama teacher. Like he went out permanently. So anyway, so I did. I just quit, and I always tell this story because when I quit my job, everyone was like, "You are a crazy person. You are going to like live destitute on the street now." And I mean, because my husband quit his job too. I had rent to pay. I had a baby. But at the same time, I was like, I'm 27. Like this is really young to like hate where my life is so much. And I just really feel like, let me try something. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I'll figure it out. I am very lucky. I knew that like I have a family. Like my mom was not going to let me starve on the streets, or well, she probably would let me, but like she wouldn't have let her grandbaby starve on the streets. We were gonna be okay. So, but anyway, I was like, I'm gonna write a book. So this was like the worst time of my life. Basically, I'm unemployed. I don't know what I'm gonna do with the future. So I sat down to write a book because I'm like, I'll just write a book, and that will. And the book that I wrote ended up being my very first book, Hex Hall. So I sat down and I wrote that book. If you've read that book, which hopefully a lot of you have, that is my life preserver book. That book is fun, I hope, because I threw everything that I really liked into it. So that, because I was so bummed, and if you're bummed, like you want to write something that cheers you up. So I was like, okay, what do I love? I love boarding schools. Which is like, I don't actually love boarding schools. Like I love stories about boarding schools. I think like I would have died had I gone to boarding school. And I was told people this, how like you read so many books for kids and like everybody's an orphan or everybody is in boarding school? It's because we don't want to have to deal with your parents. I'm just gonna be like really honest with you. And it's because like parents totally like will get in the way of any story we need to happen for the most part. Like, I don't let my kid, like walk down the street by himself. I'm certainly not letting him fight Voldemort. That's so good parents are very involved and they're very in the way. So we get out, so we gotta kill them, or we gotta like, oh, you're at boarding school now. So anyway, I love stories about boarding school. I had just read, and why I always gonna tell the story is that I think sometimes people have the idea that when you have an idea for a book, it just sort of comes fully formed, and that's just not the case. The way that a book usually comes is that you're picking a lot of little things and you're sort of throwing them all into a pot together. So for me, boarding school stories, I had spent the summer watching this terrible but wonderful British TV show called, ironically enough, Hex. I did not name Hex Hall, so that's funny to me that the word Hex ended up in Hex. It was this British TV show called Hex, which you should really all go try to find because it's nuts. But it's like supernatural happenings at a boarding school in Britain. And so I love that. I just read the Anne Rice book, The Witching Hour, for the first time, which is now like one of my all-time favorite books. I like it so much better than her vampire stuff, although that's good too. So like things with like families and witches and demons and all that very much in my head. I liked things that were funny. At the time, and I'm not saying like I invented funny YA, because obviously I didn't, or funny paranormal. But at the time, a lot of the paranormal books in YA, I was digging them, but they were really serious. And there was a lot of like romance that was sort of like, hello, I've just seen you across the room and now I will die for you. And it was sort of like, why? Like, I was just used to imagine, like, did Edward and Bella, like, do they go grocery shopping? What does that look like? It's that kind of thing. I was like, I wanted something funny. I wanted something lighter on the romance where it wasn't quite so life and death, although if you've read the Hex Hall books, that did not end up sort of being, it got kind of intense there towards the end. And so all these things, and I wanted a southern setting. I'm from the South, so I picked one of the islands, or I made up an island off the coast of Georgia. So I wanted all these things, messy family dynamics, some romance, Witches and Demons, boarding school, funny. And all of that eventually became the Hex Hall series. But when I wrote that book, I wrote it, let's see, I quit my job in October. I wrote that book from October to February. I got my agent in February, and the book sold in April to Disney Hyperion, a 3-book deal that changed my life. You know, that immediately I was okay. It was incredibly fast, and it's never happened that fast since. I just sold a new series to my publisher, and it took like 7 months for her just to like read the sample. So I was blessed at that moment. But I think that it's such an interesting thing, because I'm like, you know, I went from the lowest of the low in October, don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, I have blown up everything, to by April, which was just about 6 months later, I can't do math, I think it's about 6 months. Yeah, thank you. To like my dream job, like that. And I honestly do believe that, and I'm not like telling everyone like, go out and quit your jobs and write a book. But I do think that sometimes big risks can pay off, and I also think that sometimes when you're really unhappy in a situation, it's because whatever you want to call it, like I'm all hippy-dippy, so I'm like the universe, but whatever you want to call it, a bigger force, or just, you know, a bigger force within yourself, it's making things hard for you so that you'll change. It's basically trying to say, like, come on, I know this was working out for you, but I need you to do more, I need you to do bigger. And so I'll always be really grateful that I listened to that voice. So since Hex Hall, I wrote 3 books in the Hex Hall series, which was really hard. I don't recommend like starting out with a trilogy. Then I wrote a spin-off book, School Spirits, that makes people really mad still. And I had like business things that happened, so there couldn't be any more of those books. And like I still every week get a like, why no more School Spirits? And I'm like, it's a really boring story, but I'm sorry. And then I wrote the Rebel Bell series, which was what I'm sort of here this weekend talking about. The Rebel Bell series actually came about because of the Hex Hall books. I don't know if you guys know this, but in publishing there is a huge amount of waiting. You sit around and wait all the time. And so I was waiting on edits for Hex Hall. So this was back in 2008. And I didn't want to start on the sequel to Hex Hall before I had done edits for my editor so that I knew what she wanted. So I didn't want to potentially put something in Demon Glass that she was just going to have to change because she had changed something in Hex Hall. So while I was waiting, I was like, well, I'll write another book. Okay, I want to write another book about a teenage girl because I like writing books about teenage girls. So another first person, another funny, another with magic. But here was the thing, I'd never written anything except for Hex Hall. And I was so afraid that I was going to write another book and it was going to sound exactly the same as Hex Hall. And everybody was going to read it and be like, oh, she can only do that one thing. Which was like really looking like way too far ahead in the future, but whatever. And so because I did not, it's like the laziest thing. Like the secret of how Rebel Bell came to be is really just the secret of my own laziness. The way that I did it, that I was like, okay, here's how I will guarantee it doesn't sound like Hex Hall. I will just write about a girl who is Sophie in Hex Hall's polar opposite. And then they can't sound alike because they're just way too different. And so when I started thinking about Sophie in Hex Hall, who is snarky and an outsider, thank you, and very much like she moves around a lot, she covers up a lot of uncomfortableness with humor, which I can't imagine where she gets that. But she's very much an outsider. All her life has been. So that meant I had to write about the ultimate insider. And that meant Queen Bee, basically. So Harper in Rebel Bell is meant to be like a mirror to Sophie. One of these days I would absolutely love to write like a crossover, like a Rebel Hex thing. Because I would love to see those two girls interact and take over the world probably. So maybe one day I'll do that. Maybe I'll just put it up on fan fiction. I'll put it up on like Wattpad under a different name, but you'll know. Everyone who was here will be like, that's really Rachel. And so that was actually a little harder for me because I myself had never been, like Harper is, you know, SGA president. She's maybe going to be valedictorian. She's battling it out. And a head cheerleader and that kind of thing. So that was a little different for me. And also I really wanted to, I felt like a lot of the time, the sort of Queen Bee girls in YA were the villains. You know, they're the mean girls. And sometimes in real life that's the case, but like at my school, like the sort of beauty queen, SGA president, lovely human being. Like, she was really like community oriented and just a nice person. And I thought maybe it's time to make the sort of regular Mean Girls, maybe she needs a book. You know, she's not so bad. So that one was a lot of fun to write, but definitely like a lot harder to kind of get into that mindset. So let's see. So yeah, I've written 3 now of the Rebel Belle series, Rebel Belle, Miss Mayhem, and Lady Renegades, which just came out. I wrote 2 back-to-back trilogies, which was insane. Don't ever do that. That was foolish. And now I've got my first middle grade coming out in October called Journey's End.